Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jonny, and some of you may know that I just recovered from a bout with COVID, and I was talking with our magnificent project manager, Laura, about some ideas for on-the-go videos, and she said, you know, a lot of people are concerned about this. I think that they might like to hear your experiences with it, and so in the hope that some of this may be helpful to some people at some stage of either worrying about getting it, or in the middle of having it, or recovering from it, maybe there might be something of use to you in this. I can tell you this, I am smack dab in the middle of the age group that's supposed to be really, really affected by this and certainly has a greater risk for bad outcomes. I didn't have a bad outcome. I got through it very easily. And I mention this only to assure you that the risk factors and the things that we hear on the news and, you know, your numbers on the lab reports that you may get may also say that you have a lot of risk for this. And I don't mean to minimize that, but I do mean to maximize your sense that there's a lot under your control. And there's a lot you can do. And that really the action isn't, at least for me, the action was never about not ever getting it. The action was about how can I strengthen myself enough so that if I do get it, if something out of my control happens and I do get this virus or another one like it, what can I do, what's in my power to do to increase the likelihood that I will survive it and that you will survive it. And you can do those things also. Are they perfect? Of course they're not. I mean, I take a lot of supplements. I do a lot of things for my health. Do I think that that's gonna ward off cancer? Or because I take vitamin D, I'm not gonna get COVID? Somebody in my family said to me, how ironic, Jonny, that you're the one that keeps preaching about taking vitamin D, and you're the one who takes 8 quadrillion units of vitamin D a day, and you're the one that got COVID. She missed the point. I never took vitamin D so I wouldn't get COVID. I took vitamin D so that if I did get it, I'd survive it. I'd be able to fight it. And that's really all we can do. See, in my opinion, this COVID thing really is a two-pronged issue. One is social policy. How do we prevent it from spreading? How do we not give it to our family? How do we not get it? And that's very important. That's all we've been hearing about from health authorities. I wish we heard more about the other side of that equation, which is what can we do to strengthen our own house? So I'll tell you what I did. And again, this is a weird virus. It has outcomes that range from death to the person didn't even know they had it. That's a wide range of outcomes. So obviously there's a lot of factors going on here, but my philosophy has always been to reduce user error, to reduce unforced errors. I'm a tennis player. It's the only sport I know anything about, the only sport I can play halfway decently. And my entire game, and the game of most mid-level tennis competitors, is don't make mistakes. You know, you don't lose points in tennis or in life usually, because Roger Federer comes out and hits a cross-court forehand that just slams across the court at 120 miles an hour and nobody can put a racket on that. That's not why we lose. We lose because we make dumb mistakes. Because balls come to us easily and we screw them up. So in health and nutrition, I want to do the same thing. I want to reduce user errors. I want to make sure there's no micronutrient deficiencies, no immune compromised issues that can happen when your immune system isn't well supported. I want to make sure that my stress levels are manageable. These are all things that can set you up for vulnerability. And so the things I'm going to tell you that I did, I'm not saying these things are magic. I'm saying you can start doing some of these things right now, and maybe you're already doing them. If so, double down on them, continue doing them. If you're not doing them, start now. So what I did from a supplement point of view was, this was my basic immuno cocktail that I've been preaching about, talking about, making videos on YouTube about, making videos for you guys about, writing articles about. This is basically what I say to do and what I did and what I and my family did when we all got the COVID diagnosis. But we were doing it before that. We just doubled down and did it more. So I started with vitamin D. the #1 nutrient. That's the one thing that I wish that all the health authorities were screaming from the rooftops when they talk about distancing and masking and washing your hands. Vitamin D should be right up there with that. The correlation between vitamin D deficiency and death from COVID is between 98 and 100%. It's an unforced error. There's no need to be vitamin D insufficient or deficient. So we want to start with vitamin D. My recommended dosage for most people is 5,000 IUs a day. That's what we did in my family. We also doubled it to 10, not recommending it, just telling you what I did for the week that we were symptomatic. Actually, only 2 of us were symptomatic, but that's what we did. Next is vitamin C. Everybody knows about vitamin C. I'd go with 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams a day. Quercetin was a big part of my immunococktail program. Now, quercetin is something I've actually been taking for decades. It's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory flavonoid that's actually found in apples and onions. It's one of the reasons that we like anti-inflammatory foods is sometimes they contain quercetin. It's so very good for inflammation, also for allergies. So I took that every single day, 500 to 1,000 milligrams of that. N-ACETYL is an antioxidant that you may have heard of that has a particular affinity for the upper respiratory system. So it's really good as an antioxidant and is particularly as an antioxidant in respiratory challenges. Then there were 2 other important immune supporting nutrients. And there's a number of ways you can get these. There's zinc and selenium. Now, a lot of people take separate zinc supplements, which you can certainly do. Zinc lozenges are very effective. But if you want to avoid a lot of extra pills, what I often recommend is a high quality multiple that contains both a good dose of zinc, like 25 to 30 milligrams, and a good dose of selenium, like minimum 200 micrograms. This multiple, which is not expensive by Life Extension, has both of those. It has 200 micrograms of selenium and it has 25 or 30 milligrams of zinc. That's fine. That's what I want people to be on. That's what I was on. So you can either get it from separates or you can get it from a good multiple. Another way you can get selenium, by the way, is just buy yourself some Brazil nuts and make it a habit to eat 2 or 3 of them a day. That's the best way to get selenium. It's even better than supplements. And it's easy and, it's tasty. So that was basically my supplement routine. My eating routine didn't change very much, but I doubled down on it during the entire pandemic, actually. So from the beginning of March, when people were stocking up on toilet paper and stuff, I did not buy boxed foods. I bought lots of fruits and vegetables because I make juice every day. I make millions of nuts. If I could show you my kitchen, you'd see just jars of them, every kind of nut, and that's what I snack on all day. Olive oil. I am not allergic to dairy foods, and I'm not recommending this for people, but I had a lot of raw milk and raw yogurt, berries, and those are basically the foods I lived on. I have frozen fish and burgers, and I make those every day or so. And I actually was able to control my weight very, very well. It was really the healthiest I felt in a long time. Not that I don't feel healthy most of the time, but it was really kind of a doubling down on the principles that I teach about eating, and I was really living them well. I managed my weight very well during that time. So I think that the program that we teach, Metabolic Factor, is really so relevant at this time, and I'll tell you why. Every precondition that makes COVID a really bad thing, I mean, all the stuff that they tell you, the underlying conditions, the comorbidities like prediabetes, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, even Alzheimer's, all of these conditions have as a root underneath it something called insulin resistance. And if you've listened to me at all, unless you're a brand new member of Metabolic Mastery Club, you have heard me talk about insulin resistance. It's all I talk about, sometimes it seems. We just finished the new edition of The Great Cholesterol Myth, in which we basically held that insulin resistance is at the core of heart disease and all of the cardiometabolic problems. I don't want to get into insulin resistance now, but what I do want to say is that reversing, treating, or preventing insulin resistance might be the best thing you could possibly do for to strengthen your immune system. because that underlying condition, which is basically an error of carbohydrate metabolism, makes you more susceptible and more vulnerable to bad outcomes. So you're doing the right thing. If you're eating a low-carb, higher-fat diet, like the one we recommend in Metabolic Mastery, and the one Dr. Jaden and I talk about all the time, you are doing a great thing for your metabolism. And strengthening your metabolism is one of the best things you can do if you happen to get COVID. Now, I want to talk just for a second about the whole risk thing and the mental part of this. I think when I got my diagnosis the day after Christmas, the thing that was most difficult was the worry factor. First day or so of symptoms, it was very congruent with a mild cold or flu. It was like, Michelle and I were both like, do you feel achy? I feel achy and a little fatigued and sort of brain foggy and like you're getting a bad cold. And I had that for about 24, 48 hours. And then the third day, it was about a 25% improvement. I started to feel a little more energy, a little bit more like doing some work or reading or, engaging in some way. But the thing that made this different, and maybe this is true for some of you, was I had in my head, I'm getting a little bit better. Oh my God, I hope I'm not one of those people who gets better for 3 days and then drops dead. And you keep hearing about these one-off cases that are so weird and inexplicable that of course you worry about it. And then I was getting 25% better for a couple of days, and then I had not a relapse, but a day when I didn't feel 25% better. And then I really worried, oh my God, I'm doing one of those trajectories when you're on top of the world for the first 2 days and then boom, it hits you. So the stress and worry that I went through was probably as detrimental as anything that happened in the actual disease, which brings me to a very important point about your attitude about these things. And I'm not saying you can wish it away or that just by visualization you can make the virus go away, but I am saying that the stress we put ourselves under is a very big player in this. When this thing first started happening, like back in February, March, and all my friends in California were stocking up on vitamin C, and they're watching Facebook 24/7. And I said to them, guys, it's great that you're taking all this vitamin C and zinc and all these, but do you realize that the 24 hours a day you're watching CNN and Facebook for your feed about the deaths and the death toll are basically eating up all that, they're neutralizing all those vitamins you're taking? Because stress has an enormous metabolic effect. I'm not saying you can wish it away, but I'm saying you should take it seriously. And there is no need to watch Facebook 24/7. There's no need to know how the death toll is climbing and how the incidence is climbing. It's not going to change anything that you do. You're still going to wash your hands. You're still going to distance, I hope. You're going to wear masks. You're going to take vitamin D. You're going to strengthen your own resilience. And your behavior is not going to change by getting all that data. All that's going to happen is that your stress hormones are going to go through the roof, and that's not going to help you at all. So if you did get a diagnosis, understand that most people, 98.5% of people, live through it just fine. I know there's awful cases, and the media keeps telling us about them, and they're true. But the question is how much you want to concentrate on that versus how much you want to concentrate on the very good odds that you'll be just fine. To the extent that I have a philosophy or I follow a philosophy, I aspire to a philosophy. It's about 2,000 years old. And it started with Marcus Aurelius, and it's called Stoicism, and I'm certainly no great exemplar of that philosophy, but I aspire to a lot of things in it. A lot of things in it speak to me. And you could sum up that entire philosophy. Any of you who know 12-step programs, you could sum up the entire philosophy of Stoicism with the Serenity Prayer. It's really about understanding the difference between the things you can control and the things that you can't, and having the wisdom to be able to separate the two and to know the difference. And a lot of us, including me, could never do that. So we spend a lot of time worrying about the stuff we can't control and not as much time paying attention to the things that we have some agency in. And as far as I'm concerned, the things we do for our health, the things we do for our metabolism, the things we do for our mental health, for our resilience, for our psychological resilience, are all things that we have some control over. I always use the example of car safety. I mean, you can never text and drive. You can never drink and drive. You can drive during the daylight hours. You can watch the road. You can not be distracted. And yet some teenager who's drunk and texting can jump the barrier and hit your car and kill you. Or a boulder can fall off the 405 overpass. Those things you can't control, but you can control your user errors. And that's what I beg of you to do, to concentrate on the things that you can do to make sure you don't have micronutrient deficiencies. Make sure you're getting all your vitamins. Make sure that you are taking time for yourself with stress and rest and recuperation and good sleep and engagement with friends and family and people that you love, and doing that any way that you can do it, but knowing that that is vital to your survival, to your happiness, to your mental outlook, and to ultimately to the result of anything like a challenge like COVID. You can do this. And I certainly don't want to imply that if something bad happens to someone, it's their fault, they didn't do enough. Not at all. What I'm saying is that we should all put our seatbelts on. We should all do the things we can do to control our little universe. I always use the example that south of Florida, there's a bunch of houses right on the coast, right? Big hurricane comes, knocks out a few of them, some of them stay standing. We want to do everything we can to be in the group that's still standing. So we want to take that house and fortify it the best way that we know how. And that's the advice I always try to give you in the Metabolic Mastery videos and in the webinars and the expert interviews. It's to take these precautions, if you will, or adopt these habits that will every day strengthen your own resilience. And you have a lot more resilience than you realize, and a lot more power than you realize to affect all of that. So don't give it all up, and don't just get into the statistics and into the doom and gloom of all of it. It's pretty terrible, I get it, but there's also a lot of room for what you can do to make this whole situation, however it affects you, somewhat better. And that's what I want to see you guys concentrate on. That's what I concentrated on. And for whatever reason, I had a very mild course. It should be the worst illness anybody ever has. A couple of days of feeling achy and tired. And I survived it. And that's really where the action is. You don't, in my opinion, the really important thing isn't whether you get it or not. The really important thing is how you survive it. And I know that every one of you can do that. If I can, you can. This is Dr. Jonny, and I will see you on the next video.